Greetings and welcome to the Hourlings podcast project. My name is Martin Wilsey and I'm your host. But tonight we're having Shay drive the bus. Shay, take her away.
All right. So if you guys are listening, you're probably a writer. That's probably a good guess for our audience. And if you are, our condolences and sympathy go out to your family and friends. As you would know by looking at any acknowledgments page or even dedication page, no novel is written without support of family and friends and mentors and teachers and fellow writers and all of the above. But it can get kind of sticky and personal sometimes when you are a writer and you have certain expectations for your family. Your friends surprise you in how they respond to your writing. Maybe there's some criticisms that you weren't anticipating from some unlikely critics, and it's an interesting conundrum. So when I was younger, I as a teenager writing books, I was demanding that everybody just pay attention to me, of course, as every teenager is, right? It's a little hard to think outside of yourself when you're 15. But for me, like, the best thing in the world that you could do was to read my work. If you were a friend, if you were my family member, I instantly felt closer to you if you read my work. And I would get sort of annoyed and feel insulted. That's my dog, excuse me. Feel insulted if someone didn't want to read my work, or if someone read it and didn't love it or whatever. Nowadays, now that I'm older and write, maybe a little more maturely, I'm actually grateful that I have some people in my family that aren't interested in reading my work. So I'm going to let my dog bark, and I'm going to throw it to you guys and say, first of all, does your family read your books? That's the first question.
Well, for me, my family, some of them read them, some of them don't. I was actually really, really surprised to learn, once I published my first novel, how many people never read books ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, I actually expected a bunch of my longtime college friends from back in the day. I thought they would read the book just to point and laugh at me after they were done reading it. And I was surprised to learn they frankly just admitted, I haven't read a book since 1978. And that just shocks me. And the same was true with some of my family. And in fact, after I got off the initial shock that people weren't reading it in my family, when I find out that they never read anybody's books either, I didn't feel so bad.
Was there anyone who you were expecting, because you're special and because they're special to you, that they would make an exception for your book and they didn't, and it was offensive or anything like that?
Not really. I was more surprised by the feedback of some of the people in my family that read it. Because my son read it. Yeah. And his feedback was, that's all right. And my wife, she reads everything. She, in fact, is the last reader before I press publish, which has been damn handy on multiple occasions, I'll tell you.
Very good.
She's my harshest critic also, but she loves me more than anyone else. So
but she's invested. She's invested, and that's, that's a gift. So David, Jeffrey, does your family read your books?
No, I'll go next then. I mean, well, the immediate family, not native English speakers. So the nuance of all my writing is usually lost. And so there's actually no point. I do forgive that. But I did read a passage from my first published work and read that, and that was liked. So you never know. But as far as family is concerned, I mean, my brother, my father, my stepmother, I don't feel bad that they don't. I know they don't read very much, so they're more television-ish people. They get their entertainment that way. So I'm just like,
so they don't. So the answer is not really.
Yeah, not really.
Interesting. Okay, David.
Science fiction and fantasy. So she doesn't really read my stories. There's a couple exceptions. She's read, for instance, The Whispering Voice, which is a crime story with just a little hint of magic in it, and An Unexpected Hero, which is much the same. It's set in the modern day world with just a hint of magic. And she liked both of those, but that's as close as it comes to something that she would read. And she liked those. Amongst the rest of my family, my brother reads my stuff. He's usually a little harsh. I get a little bit of this, it's kind of odd. I get a little bit of this not invented here syndrome. Like it's hard to believe that your writer, that your brother or your relative could actually be a real writer. Even though I know that some of the stuff he reads and likes are, by my standard, less quality than some of the stuff I think that I write. So he still has a little bit of that bias of really believing that I'm a real writer making money in the field.
Yeah, that reminds me of a comment one of my college buddies gave me. He bought the audio edition, right? And I have found that a lot of people that have never read a book will listen to an audiobook. So that's good.
Yeah.
And he listened to my book. He he calls me up. He says, "Marty, this is like a real book."
Great. Yeah. So for me, my mom and my sister are readers in general, but they don't read science fiction and fantasy. And so I think that I can relate that is a prohibitive genre. If you're not used to the genre, it is sort of alien, no pun intended, alien to jump into it. And so I do consider that a somewhat valid excuse. If your family really, it's really not their cup of tea. Like I don't think my mom could ever wrap her head around anything science fiction. It's just not in her world. She just not, it doesn't click with her. And so, you know, in some ways I kind of get that. My contemporary novel had a character that, you know, looked a lot like me, but it was fictionalized. But there, you know, the outward appearances and some of the coincidences did make it seem biographical in some ways. And so when Mom read that, she was like, she had to sit down with me and she had to go through every single detail and make sure that this was fictionalized and this wasn't true and that was true, or that, you know. And so I had to say, Mom, it's fiction. It's fiction. You know, there might be some similarities that you recognize, but it's fiction, I promise. And so that was a little uncomfortable. So in some ways, I am grateful when I can dodge that, because I do think that, you know, in your writing, you might raise some eyebrows to people who know you very well. Like maybe they had no idea you were interested in this topic, or maybe you write, you know, an intimate romance scene that doesn't seem like it's you, you know, in your everyday, like how you conduct yourself every day, but you're a really steamy writer behind the closet. I don't know. Maybe at night you're like an erotica writer, and by day you're, I don't know, doing your day job. So there could be some, you know, awkward instances there. My dad, however, is not a reader at all on his own. However, I've read to him my novels, so it is kind of like an audiobook, Marty, an audiobook by me, live performance. And that way he's read almost all of my novels, which has been really great because we can talk about it, and he'll see something on TV that reminds him of my novel and say, you know, that reminds me a lot of this book you wrote, or I think you did this better than that story did. So I love that. I'm grateful for that. I do believe, you know, with the excuses mentioned and the caveats mentioned, I do believe that if you are a family member or a friend of a writer, the best way and the quickest way to their heart, I think, really is to read their book and to talk to them about it and to validate them. Even if you don't think it's the best book ever, just know them, because writers do put their souls into books. So if you want to know my soul, know my books.
So
No,
when it
no,
comes
I
to
just think. Well, no, go ahead, David. I'll say that.
when it comes to parents, unfortunately, my dad died before
Yeah.
I started writing. I regret that, because he was a science fiction reader and probably would have liked my stuff. Now, my mother, it's kind of nuanced. I mean, she's dead now, but I had started writing fairly seriously before she died.
Yeah.
And it's very weird, because there's a bias in my family that you know, you will go to college, you will do this, you will work for a good company. But that was kind of what was the expectation in my family. You would work for a good company. The idea of being a writer and being in business, like a solo business, et cetera, that was considered to be hobby type stuff, not something real, not something
Right.
that might be either your full-time job or maybe an afterburner job. And so that's an interesting attitude to fight too, when it comes to your family and possibly even your friends.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when I started writing, my mom was already suffering from things like bipolarism and dementia and schizophrenia. She wouldn't have really understood anything that I had published even back in 2013 when I started getting my stuff published. So she never got to enjoy that. But you know, one thing I am confident about is now that Witness Paradox is coming out, which Marty, of course, the editor of that great little anthology, is coming out on Audible. My father might actually read it because
It's out.
he, like me, he like me. I'll send him a coupon. He like me does almost all his reading on Audible books, audiobooks, and my Audible account has 400 or 500 books on it right now because I do read a lot.
So let's talk about fake praise. Fake praise from friends, sometimes family too. I think I can safely say this because I have 2,000 Facebook friends, so the odds of me personally offending one of them are pretty low. Because I'm going to talk about a very large audience right now, so 2,000 Facebook friends. I have 2,000 Facebook friends, more than that now, and for the most part, they've been following my journey with writing ever since I was maybe 16 or 17 when I got my account. And so I was always very public about my dreams. I let them know when I had a big meeting with St. Martin's Press or an agent or something, and I would let them know when it didn't work out and that I was disappointed. And so I feel like I had kind of built this audience that was engaging and commenting and liking and all that stuff. And so when I finally got my book published, I said to myself, man, if every one of my Facebook friends just bought one copy for themselves, just one, I would probably make enough money to impress the publisher to keep me, and I can continue my career with that publisher. And I was thinking, man, even if, okay, maybe 25% of them won't do it, but maybe 3/4 of them will, and I should be in good shape. And I remember I posted, I did all the advertising. I invited them to the book signings. I posted it several times. And the book, darn it, was on Amazon Prime, free shipping for $11. And I thought, man, that's real, no one's going to balk at that price, hardcover for $11. And, I got the sales report, and there was no way that all my friends who had all along been praising me and saying we're here for you and we're very happy for you and, bought that many books. Not all of them have bought a book. And it reminded me of a friend of mine, similarly, in a similar situation, who's self-published. And he said, he has the reports right there on Amazon, the author page. And he said, I'll count it. I'll count how many of my Facebook friends tell me that they're either gonna buy a book or did buy a book or whatever. And I'll compare it to the actual sales, and they don't match up. They don't. Yeah. So, not everybody is being authentic by saying, yay, congrats to you. I'm going to buy a book, and they don't actually do it. So I do think, number one, if you say you're going to buy a book, I hope that you do, because, be true to your word. And number two, supporting someone's dream. I know it's hard because, it comes a point where you think I can't support everyone, or I don't have the finances to do that for everything. I get that. But if you do consider yourself a genuine supporter of a writer, it's really important to just at least buy one of their books and leave a 5-star review. Just chip in your little bit that you can chip in to do it. But the fake praise is out there, I will tell you that, and the fake promises are out there from friends. So that's. Yeah. I hope I don't sound too grumpy. I hope that's not.
I think you just hit on the typical marketing for books. Even if it's an interested audience, you're only going to get a certain sell-through from that audience, and
right.
Isn't going to be 75%.
Right.
Probably going to be 25%. It
25, yeah.
It might be 5%. It might be 10%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you really have to cultivate not caring.
Yeah.
Just keep writing, put out the next book, and just keep rolling with it. Because if you pay too much attention to your friends and family, if they're reading your books, then it's a distraction. And, you know.
Yeah. And
I
plus,
think you're totally right as far as self-publishing, but in the traditional world, it was all about numbers. I mean,
yeah, well,
when they were thinking about keeping me on as an author with the same publisher, they didn't care how brilliant my ideas were for the next one. They strictly looked at that graph. And so yeah, I get you with don't care, but at the same time, it's it's just part of the business. It's realistic.
I also look at it from the other perspective of if you're with a publisher, I look at that as a partnership. And what did the publisher do to actually promote your book?
yeah.
Right.
I doubt if they were running BookBub ads and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So,
No, they rely on you to do that, in fact.
I did hope for a little more support in that regards.
They treated you wrongly, Shay. I mean, let's just be frank. They treated you wrongly.
Well, I gotta say though, friends and family, for me, at least they're buying the book.
Right.
Oh.
I can tell that because my friends and family, they demand that I sign them all. So I actually, have proof that they've actually got copies of them. So that's pretty funny. I went to a family reunion, and they demanded that I bring a case of books along. And man, I sold a ton of books to my cousins and stuff. They were really impressed that they had a cousin that was an author.
That's an A+, like perfect example of gesture of what to do if you're friends with an author or your family of an author. I love that. That's a very supportive family. So I hope that other family members maybe get inspired by that idea. Have you guys ever come across any family or friends who gave you a 1-star review or were sort of surprising in their critique?
No.
I know one of my friends, his in-law gave him a 3-star review, publicly on Amazon, and he was like, "Okay, that's a little weird." And then
I actually want honest reviews. I really do like honest reviews.
Yeah. How are you going to get better?
Another interesting thing is I've had reviews deleted by Amazon because they have the same last name as me. And demonstrably, I don't know what algorithms they use to figure that stuff out, but they say, "Oh, that's his brother, that's his sister, or whatever."
And so remember, folks, lock down your social networks. Make sure that your Facebook friends are private because they will find you there too. Oh, he's a friend on Facebook. Oh, can't delete the review.
So you would want an honest review as far as 3 stars even from a family member?
Absolutely. I want honest reviews. I wanted to tell if my baby's ugly, I want to hear that.
Exactly. How am I going to improve it if I don't know?
And I often do. And we can have a whole nother show that's all about reviews.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
How best to do it. But I always ask for honest reviews from everybody.
It's fair and honest. In fact, you can get yourself in trouble by asking people. Get yourself in trouble with Amazon by asking people to do 5-star reviews for you. Use the phrase "fair and honest," and quite frankly, if you see somebody 20 reviews and they're all 5 stars, is that real? But if you see 20 reviews and some of them are 3 stars and 4 stars,
right? I agree.
Legit.
I agree. I would not criticize authors who do hunt for 5-star reviews from family and friends because for me, I just view it like it's all an algorithm. It's all just numbers and inflated advertising. I mean, for me, it's all. I don't see that as being a huge ethical issue, but maybe that's a whole other episode.
Well, getting a friend and family member first to buy your book.
Right.
You're gonna have some falling off to the wayside right there. And then 2, getting them to actually read the book.
Yep.
And then 3, actually to have the wherewithal to do a review for you. Is
I get
the
you.
trifecta of goodness.
Oh yeah, that is how you make your
That's a good point.
family love you, or rather your author love you.
Sales from coworkers, actually.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and that's a good topic to bring up. I mean,
Coworkers.
on my resume, when last year I was looking for a job, and on my resume right there is a list of all the books I've published, or at least have my fiction in it. Because I just figured, well, it's 5 pages already. Might as well just put that there too. The job that I have now, the government manager, he said, I'm going to read that. I'm interested in what you've had to write.
That's really great. That's supportive too. I like that boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, my boss, when I had a day job, he loved my books. He read the first 3 books, and then he became a beta reader on every novel since then.
Wow.
It's and he still is a good friend and a beta reader for me now.
I found some beta readers at work, and I've also found one of my stories. I had a black character, and I did some fairly comedic, risky things with the story, and I just wanted to run it past a friend who was African American and say, "Look, have I crossed the line here? Just be honest and let me know." And they were like, "No, this is awesome. This is hilarious," right? It was kind of gratifying, but it was nice to have a friend and a coworker I could trust to give an honest opinion on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So toss me advice, because one of my issues with family and friends too is I have a hard time, especially like at in-person showings, like book sales and book signings. I have a hard time, like my impulse is to be like, oh no, just take it. You know, we go way back, you know, you did so much for me and I did so much for you, we're buddies, and you know, whatever, don't pay me. Here you go. How do I get over that?
For the sale.
Yeah.
Give a discount if you have to, but ask for the sale.
Yeah.
Even the family and friends, ask for the sale.
Ask for the sale.
Yeah, you can give them a discount.
Yes, especially if you're indie published. You know, my $15 book probably cost me $6.
Yeah.
I could give it to them for 10. I'm still making a profit. They're $5 off bargain.
Right.
You know, but if you believe in me, buy the damn book.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And look, we're not asking for hundreds. We're asking just $10, man.
$11 Amazon Prime, people.
Yeah.
Two of my siblings always buy a hardcover edition that they put on the shelf and a paperback edition that they can abuse the hell out of reading in the bathtub.
That's great.
Nice.
That's the pristine.
So I appreciate that too.
All right, so I guess I'll end it by asking, what's like one thing that you find to be the most supportive that a family member or a friend could do for you as a writer?
Write a review.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's the reviews that creates the feedback that is actually worth something to me. I enjoy the pats on the head. I enjoy them seeing me in the books, which is really kind of funny. My wife is the one that sees me the most in there and catches the Big Lebowski references or, you know, stuff from Blade Runner and things that I actually say out of my own mouth. So just, you know, talking about it with me. I like it when people ask me questions and stuff about it. So that's fun for me.
For me, it's even if my family members might be a little bit overcritical, because that invented here syndrome. Even when they're critical, I'm getting some decent critiques from them, which I was taken advantage of because they've said things that had a kernel of truth in them. So I do find it useful for my family sometimes to read the beta version of the story. I've gotten some good advice. So maybe they don't buy the book or sell it or try to sell it to all their friends, but if they're helping in any way, hey.
Yeah, if they're an advocate, you know, if they tell 2 people, hey, my brother wrote this novel, just check it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can just be, you know, hey, I'll watch the kids for an hour while you write. You know, like what with sacrifices like that are also meaningful. I don't have any kids or a partner, but you know, I'm just saying. There you go. One way.
I believe none of us have children at home, so we don't have that problem.
That's right. I never realized that pattern about this group. None of us have any kids at home.
That's probably why we can make all the meetings.
That's right.
Jeffrey, what's your thing?
Well, my thought is this. It is nice to have your family and friends buy your book. It's really nice. But there's something really nice in your heart when a total stranger buys your book and says, I love this. Nothing makes you feel better.
Maybe family members could like dress up as strangers in trench coats with like and buy books
Cosplaying a stranger.
right? You know. And my thing is, even though I went on a rant about buying the book on Facebook and my friends and all that, I think the best way that my family members and my friends can support me is by recognizing that my writing is a reflection of my spirit, and it is a piece. You know, it's artwork for us, for all of us here. Our writing is our artwork, and if you can be sensitive enough to engage with me on that level and realize that it's a very personal and intimate thing, and if you actually know it, not just buy it or glance through it or read a review, but if you actually read it and actually can talk about it with me, that means a lot. And I know that taste is subjective, so I know that there is some limitations there, but I will say that I never feel closer to someone than when they are deeply engaging with me on something that I wrote. So there you go. That's
Solid.
a good statement. But
Yes.
we hope that you guys keep writing, and thank your family and friends if they're supporting you. And if not, try not to take it personally and keep moving ahead. So we're here for you.
Absolutely.